Hey, this is Daniel. Welcome to my table. And we're talking Solomon's Song, day number 45. And we're talking about this idea, my reflection. That's the title of our devotion today. And if you're wondering what happened to your flower, what happened to your coffee mug, well, the coffee mug is still here. I got it right here. But we've also got a couple things on the table behind me that play into what we're talking about here in our general message. And so I want to just jump right into it. So Song of Solomon chapter 4 and verse number 9 is where we're at. And we are talking about this moment in time in the story of the king and his bride when they're on top of a mountain. They're in this place of elevation. We talked about a little bit last video how when God brings you to a place of elevation, how he will put you there, not because it's you or because he's wanting to elevate you, because it's just your time, it's just your season. No, he's putting you in a place of elevation because he wants to bring you to a place where he can show you something of his kingdom that offers you a perspective you could not have seen from any other spot in the kingdom. When God brings you in a valley, it's not because he's judging you or he's going to get back at you for what you did back in high school. He's not trying to vindictively punish you. When God brings you to a place of lowness, a lot of times a place of brokenness, is he's showing you a perspective or a viewpoint he wants you to capture and record in your mind and not forget, because it's going to help you as you journey through the kingdom. And so we are here on top of this mountain. The king and the shepherd girl are there. She's filled with wonder. She's looking around this place like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. She's looking at the valleys and the rivers and the waterfalls, and she's seeing all of this stuff from this spot on the mountain. And the king is just beside himself watching her enjoy this view, because only he could provide it. And he has waited for so long to show her this. Like ever since he was a boy and he saw that, it burned in his heart. Man, when I get me a woman, he sounds like he's from Alabama. When I get me a woman, roll tide, I'm going to show her this spot. Now, he said, look, when I get somebody special in my life, I'm going to take her here. You ever been to a restaurant or you've eaten a food or you watched a movie and the very first thing you thought of is, man, when I get this person, a special person, or man, when he's back in my life, or when she's with me, I'm going to take her to this restaurant, or I'm going to show him this, or I'm going to have her see this. And you have these things that you want other people to experience because you love them and you want them to see this as well as you because it's impacted you. And so we're looking at this Song of Solomon chapter 4 verse 9. They're on top of the mountain and he makes a statement to her. He's talking to her and he speaks to her when she stops looking around her and starts looking at him. Like she's scanning the horizon and she makes eye contact with him and she looks up in his eyes. Like she is blown away by what she's seeing out there. And then it hits her that he brought her here because he wanted her to see it. And he's looking into her eyes and his heart is filled with love for her. As he's taking her in, he says, chapter 4 and verse number 9, he says, "Thou hast ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. Thou hast ravished my heart with one of thine eyes, with one chain of thy neck." I love that passage. I love what he says to her because he's speaking. He says, look, you ravished me. Ravish doesn't mean just kind of slightly have a crush on. Ravish means you completely decimate, you completely overwhelm and conquer, and you completely take ownership of. And he said, you have ravished my heart. You've completely conquered me when you look at me. And what stirred Solomon's heart more than the view around him was the view in front of him. And what stirred his heart the most about her is that when he looked in her eyes, he saw something that you could only see in the eyes of someone that you are close to. I want you to think for just a minute. You have someone in your life that you love dearly, and you look in their eyes. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's just your child. You look in their eyes, and what makes that look so electric sometimes is that you see your own reflection in their eyes. And you realize right now, of all the people, 7 billion people on the planet, my reflection is in their eyes. And it's awesome when you look in someone's eyes, you see yourself looking back at you. You see yourself in them. It's a beautiful exchange of intimacy and closeness. Intimacy just means intimacy. And so when we look at that invitation, what you see is he said, man, he locked eye contact with her, and he's fascinated because he glimpsed into her eyes, and her eyes were like a window to the soul, as one author put it. Solomon mentions the eyes of his bride frequently. He loved looking in her eyes because when he did, he was fully aware that she was focused on him. He talks about a dove. He compares it to a dove in her eyes many times because a dove biologically can only focus on one thing at a time. And he said, the way you look at me, you're very focused on me. Like you're looking at me with the intent of finding me. You're looking at me with the intent of seeing yourself in my eyes. You're staring at me. It overwhelms me. Because when you look into the heart of God, what you're able to discover about yourself is mind-blowing. What you're able to discover about your own potential is mind-blowing. It doesn't happen when you casually give God commercial breaks, or you casually give God in between binge watches on Netflix, or in between conversations with your friend, or in between Facebook posts. When you get to see yourself, who you are, the Bible says when you look in the law of liberty, that's who he is. I look into you, God, and what I see gives me understanding of who I am and who I'm supposed to be, and what needs to leave and what needs to be added, and where I need to grow and where I need to decrease. And I see those things when I look into your eyes. You see your own potential. I remember way back 2012, I don't like giving dates on videos, but man, way back then, I remember going to God and asking him, if you love me, why did you let this happen in our life? And I looked into his eyes for the answer. And when I looked in his eyes, what I found was the message of the man in the wall, the message of why God lets things happen. It was the very first time that I looked into his eyes and saw me and my value to him, and I began to be overwhelmed, and I had to write it out. In fact, I wrote it out, and so much so that I wanted it in Spanish, and I wanted it in Arabic, and I wanted it in Farsi and Hindi. I wanted to go around the world because I want people to understand. Look what happened. When I looked at his eyes, look what I saw. Look what I saw. It overwhelmed me. And then just a few years later, wrote Solomon's Song, and that's what we're talking about now. And man, that was all this was. It's not just this book. Man, that's a great book. I can't believe you wrote that. Yeah, I know. I can't either. I read it. I'm like, did I write this here? God, did you let me write this? What was that? It was a look into the heart of God for me, and it changed me. And all I could think of is I want people everywhere to see what happened when you look into God's heart, when you look into his eyes. Then after that came Brickman, and man, looking to God, understanding why I'm here. What is my purpose? How do I find my purpose? People say, how do I find the reason why I'm here? How do I identify what is my life message? What is it? Man, we answer that question. This is how you find it. Ask this. This is how you find your life message. And this is where it's been. This is where it's been your whole life. This is how to draw it out, and this is how to put it out. And man, that was a look. It's not just a book to write a book. It was a look into the heart of God. And man, then came open the door, see all the people. What is our relation in life? Now that I know my message, what is my responsibility to people around me? That was a look into the heart of God. Man, you put that out because you want people to see it. Then cardboard signs and other things to identify. I said, man, it just began to roll into journals and discipleship guides and curriculum and teaching stuff. Why? What are those? It's just great author? No, it's not great authorship. What it is, it's someone who's just said, hey, it's worth it to me to put down what I was doing before, and I'm going to look into the eyes of God and let him show me something about his heart and something about himself when my focus is fixed in his heart. Man, I love that. I'm getting ready to launch a brand new book, How to Fall in Love with Anyone in 90 seconds or less. Man, what is that? It's a look into the heart of God that says, show me who I am. May I just challenge you, don't hide your eyes from God. Because he's got a table full of potential that you have. He's got stuff inside of you that he wants to bring out and draw out, because he's giving you that message from the time you were born. He says, I've got it in you. It's not Daniel Stoneball, some special dude. Daniel Stoneball is my dude, is what he says, and you are his dude, and you are his dudette, and he's got potential for you, and he made you with it, and he says, I want to draw it out of you, but you've got to take the time to look into my eyes, and if you look into my eyes, don't hide them from me. Don't put your vision on anything else that's not me, because I've got stuff to show you. We don't look to God because if I don't look at him, he's going to smack me in the face. No, I look to God because of what happens when I look to God. I look in his eyes because of what happens to me when I look in his eyes. And the same for you. I'm not going to say, since Jesus did so much for you, shouldn't you look in his eyes? Shouldn't you give him your time? He gave you his life. Shouldn't you give him your Facebook time? I'm not even going to try to get the old fog machine out. Fear, obligation, and guilt. We're leaving that off to the side. I'm saying look into his eyes because it's an opportunity for you to see who he made you to be. You look into his eyes because it's his opportunity he's given you to unlock the message that's here. To unlock the message that beats. To unlock the life that flows from your veins. You look in his eyes because, man, what you get from looking in his eyes is an understanding of his heart for you, an understanding of his purpose for you, an understanding of his direction for you. Those three things, that is what the world spends countless dollars on, trying to identify and trying to find. You find it when you take the time to say, hey, I'm clearing the distractions. I want your eyes. I want to see you with my eyes. You know, my young son, Blake, he's 6 years old, and he'll sit on my lap, and he'll tell me something, or he'll have a little tablet, and he's showing me something. He said, Dad, look what I did. I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. He says, no, Dad, grabs my face. Look with your eyes. Look with your eyes, Dad. Man, take that, grab God. Oh, look. Let me look in your eyes. Let me see you with my eyes. Let me see your life. Let me see my own life in you. Let me see my reflection. Because when I look to God, what I discover is he has always been looking at me. You know, we feel alone sometimes, right? You feel like nobody notices you. Every one of us wants someone in life just to witness us, to say, hey, I'm bearing testament that this person lived, they came here, they did something with their life. You know, we want to be noticed. We want to have a witness. And when you take the time to look at God, what you discover is he has always been looking back at you, and he is engaged with you, and he wants to see you. He wants to see his own reflection when he looks in your eyes. Look for him in your day-to-day activities. Look for him today and cherish the fact of his awareness of you. The stars up in the sky. When's the last time you went outside and just looked up at the stars? You look up there and they're like little flecks of light in someone's eyes, right? When you're at candlelight dinner, you see the little light dance in their eyes. The stars are like the flecks of light. Just so many times I'll walk outside and just look up and just lose myself in his eyes. Just, man, you look up there and say, I just want to look at you. I just want to look at you tonight. I just want to see your eyes tonight. I'm giving you my eyes. I want to see my own reflection. I want to look up and see you. I want to see you looking back at me. Into me, see. That's what intimacy is. So let's talk. Here's the question. When was the last time you went outdoors and just looked up? You just looked up. When was the last time you asked God to let you see him in your day-to-day activities? I want to challenge you today. Take the time to ask God to show you himself in your day-to-day activities. Now, what we're going to see when we get back and meet next time, we're talking about your love is genuine. And next, when we get together next time, we're talking about Solomon's response to her. When he talks to her about her eyes, the more he looks at her eyes, the more he becomes overwhelmed. And when his heart begins to pour forth, that's when she starts to learn another step in her identity. Man, all of this right here, I would love to say these are just books because I have nothing else to do, but I do have a lot of stuff to do. But I write books because I can't help it when I look in his eyes and he tells me about where I stand with him. Like, I've got to put it out. I've got to just, this right here to me is not just a collection of books. It's a testimony to me of times where God is specifically, I can take you to every book and say, this is what was going on in my life. This is what was going on during that time. This is what was happening in my family when this was written or when this was going out. This was where I was developing as a person. This is where my understanding was being shaped as a person. One author said, I write to discover what I know. And man, as you begin to pour forth, you're going to see more and more of God. When you take the time to look into his eyes, he begins to download into your spirit things about himself and your relationship with him. He's going to download your position with him. And man, it is some of the most solidifying stuff you'll ever find in your entire life. We're going to talk about that when we get together next time. Thanks for being with me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and we will talk to you next time. Bye-bye now.